Hello and welcome back. If you never seen any of my videos, I am Pavel. I'm a software engineer based in Czechia in Europe, and I'm a career switcher. So I switched careers to software engineering like 5 years ago from sales. Today I want to dive straight into my first months as junior developer. Because that's the thing. When I look back, the hardest was not to actually get my first software engineering job. The hardest thing in the world was to survive these few first days and weeks and months. And the reason why will probably surprise you. So stay with me, because I'm going to relive all this with you together. And in the end, I will also share with you one skill, one thing that made me valuable as fast as I could for the rest of the team and also for all the stakeholders. And that really helped me to turn, this like probationary period into success. And it's funny that I mentioned probationary period because basically here in Czechia, it's normal that when you start a new job, you can have up to 3 months of probationary period. And during that time, nothing is certain because you can be let go, immediately, without any reason. That's why it's called probationary period. You also have this right as employee to, end the contract immediately and move on, but also your employer can do that. And when I look back at that first day, I must admit that, imagine I was 32 at the time, with one small kid at home. I was out of the job for quite a few months at the time because I wanted to focus on my career switch. And now it was the first day of the job. And back then I didn't have very, real, let's say, idea about the job. I mean, I knew what in general what programmer or developer is supposed to do, but I did not know a lot about the business. So basically, few days before that, I didn't know that it's the thing that there are some like agencies and companies that basically you work for and then they subcontract you to some other companies. And I was supposed to join that project, which was around like, traffic control and smart intersections and so on. And my boss at the time told me, okay, they want to basically talk with you up front and see for themselves because, they want to vet every person that will join the project. And I was on real entry level. And he told them that I'm like junior, but I will be just addition to the team and so on. And now I was sitting in my living room on a call with so intimidating, person from Germany. And we were interviewing in like English and he was asking me like about my experience and so on. Long story short, from that person, over the time became one of my, I would say, most precious colleagues, and he's really great, Oliver. But I was so intimidated at the moment, and my boss was like, if they don't ask directly, try not to tell them that you have like zero commercial experience. Of course, they asked. I told them. And my feeling after that interview was not very good. Let me say that. Not very good at all. But yeah, they agreed that I can join the team. And then it was the first day of the job, and I was supposed to come to the office, right? Now, a little bit of context, because this was deep COVID time, right? So we were working in the office, but everyone wore this face mask, right? So you can't really read a lot of like emotions when you just see no eyes and you don't see anything else. And I joined the first day. It was super quick. Like, here is your laptop. Here is everything. You need to do some mandatory trainings, e-learnings, and so on and so on. And next day, you will join the project itself. So that evening, I didn't meet anyone else other than my boss because everyone was kind of working from home, which was difficult for me. But yeah, I remember I came home that evening and I was like, wow, I made a huge mistake. I'm never gonna be, programmer. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. They will fire me in a week. The thing is, when I came next day, there was one of my future colleagues from the team to welcome me, and he was so, you know, friendly and so forthcoming that I was really I felt just embarrassed about my feelings. Like I was terrified in the inside, and then this person was really nice to me, right? And that's one thing that I learned over the time, because most of the people that I met, and maybe I'm just lucky, but most of the people that I met in like a software engineering in general were really open and really nice and really trying to find the silver lining and trying to find a way to make things work. And I think that's something very precious about that industry. This open minded behavior, no blame culture, that's something I feel to be really precious. Yeah, but never mind. Let's continue a bit and let's move forward. So I started, and first day I had like first day I had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours of calls in English, because it was basically the meeting wise the worst day of the sprint. I didn't know at the time mostly what sprint is, but there was some refinement meeting, there was some planning, there was some retrospective, and I was supposed to join in the beginning and introduce myself. Wow, I'm not native English speaker, as you can hear for yourself. And now imagine how my English was like 5 years ago when I started to work in English. I felt so humiliated. I felt so insecure, but somehow I got through, and like, feeling like total imposter, but everyone was fine and friendly. And then I listened through the meeting. In the evening, I came home, and the feelings from the previous evening were like on a high. Like, wow, I really did a mistake. I can never see that, working and coming through. I was terrified. The next day, I made a contact with my buddy from the team, who was at the time. It was basically university student, but really good, almost like senior software engineer at the time already. So you can imagine he was like 10 years younger to me, which doesn't add to your confidence. But at the time I was so, so humble, and I was so eager to just learn that it worked just fine. And for the next, I don't know, month maybe, we I didn't see him for like next 2 weeks because he was working from home, obviously COVID and so on. So I knew him only as a voice, you know, in my ear. But for the next month, he took a really good care of me, and we went through. Basically, what I was doing was he was trying to implement the features that we were supposed to do, and I was doing unit tests for everything. And that was a really good school for me, you know. And yeah, over the time, I started trying to be a little bit more independent, and then I ended up doing some small thing on my own after like 2 or 3 months, and yeah, the rest is the history. Now, the part that you are probably waiting for is, so what would help me to convince them? Because it was far from set to stone that I will be left with this team and I will continue, because basically I was there just as a courtesy, because one of the developers, they asked for 3 senior developers, and one of the developers couldn't be allocated first few months for 100%. So I was this like 10% that were the difference, kind of. And after that, you know, no one knew what will happen after that. So one thing that I did, because I was thinking like, okay, these guys, I was in a team with 3 other, senior developers. These guys, obviously know their craft and know how to be a good developer. So that will take time to get to near their level, right? But what I could do is to quickly put together all the information and the knowledge about the domain, right? Because that was obvious that we were on the same, starting line. So what I did, and what I think is often like my superpower, is to put all the little bits and pieces into a bigger picture. So I was like so eager for knowledge, and I just put together all the information about what we are building, how it's gonna be used, what is all the theory behind it, and so on. And very quickly I was able to be a part of discussion. I was able to ask meaningful questions on the meetings. I was able quite soon to propose my own, ideas for solution from like domain point of view. And long story short, what happened was that while my coding skills were still, catching up, and it was barely good enough, the client said that I'm valuable part of the team, and yeah, I'm part of the team till now, and that's 5 years later. So that's how my junior, you know, first months went, and the rest is the history, I guess. If I could name, 3 hardest things about getting that, you know, confidence, let's say, as a junior dev, first, for me, the language. Because if you are not a, native English speaker, and English is not your native language, and you start working in an international team, it can be intimidating. You can feel more insecure, and it just highlights all your insecurities as a junior developer. But as long as the team is, accepting that and is open-minded, that will disappear over the time, basically. The second thing is that and that was really stupid, I was so thinking as imposter, you know, that What I was doing was like maybe things like avoiding code review from more senior members of the team, from the international team, and that was really dumb because I just didn't want. I just wanted limited number of people to know how bad programmer I am. But if I actually worked more closely with our tech lead or someone else, I could have grown much faster. So that was really stupid. Yeah, and the third thing, what is the hardest is, you know, most of the negative feelings and most of the issues are just in your head. So it's much better to get a proper feedback. It's much better when you feel insecure to have one person, one body in a team to really openly discuss that with, rather than keep boiling inside your head and then be harmed by your insecurities. Yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell how my first 2 or 3 months went as junior developer. And next time I'm going to tell you about how it happened that in the first 2 years I basically grew to the senior software developer role. So that was a little bit of personal story, but if you are here for more like software engineering knowledge, be sure to check out all the interviews I did with great software engineering people. Bye.